welcome to the Paranormal Podcast, Episode 3. Man, I'm excited about this one. This is going to be an interesting conversation, and we will, make no mistake, be going down a rabbit hole tonight. That's for sure. Tonight, the subject is disembodied voices. Are you crazy? Or did you just hear that? Yeah, that's what we go through on a lot of investigations. Is if you're a paranormal investigator, you know what I'm talking about. There's always those moments where you go, "Did that just happen?" We've experienced a lot of that over the last couple of investigations that we've done. The places that we've gone have had disembodied voices.
Isn't that weird that disembodied voices are supposed to be like super rare?
I know, but
the last three investigations that we've done that we actually made films on, we had disembodied voices on all three locations.
It is odd. Maybe they're getting better at it or something. The ghosts are. Maybe there's maybe somebody put out a memo.
I guess.
I don't know. Hey, this is how you do it in case you're interested.
They talk like, hey, Haunted Nation's coming. You can talk out loud to them. They're cool. They've been through this before, so no big deal.
Yeah. Well,
every time.
Yeah, either that or, it's been posted on the dark web, the ghost dark web. Anyway, so yeah, the thing is, too, the last place we went, of course, we talked a lot about it, the Haunted Hill House. There were so many of them that many of them didn't even make the film that we did, Haunted Nation, the Haunted Hill House, New Evidence. Some of them were just not so clear, or they were at certain times where one of us was talking over it, or for some reason or another we didn't use every single one of them, but there was a whole bunch more. Enough to the point where at the end of it all, we were left with a theory as to what we were hearing, because according to the scientific community, Ryan and I were just talking about this before we got started tonight, according to the scientific community, if you're hearing voices, you've got something wrong with your head and you're hearing things.
Yeah, you've lost your marbles if you're hearing voices.
Yeah, so, I hope that's not the case. If that's the case, everybody in our group was hearing things, and so is just about everybody who watched our film, for that matter, is hearing things too. Which, I'm sorry, scientific community, I would like to invite any one of you to come with us next time we go there and tell me whether or not you're losing your mind or not, okay?
I've been searching and searching for any kind of scientific study about ADPs or DVPs, whichever you want to call it, audible or disembodied voice phenomenon. And I went down the internet rabbit hole of looking for this kind of stuff, and I could not find anything. There was some on EVPs, but nothing on audible voices. And EVPs are really cool. It's always great to get EVPs, but the confusing part of getting voices is hearing it with your own ears, because it's more real that way. When you're standing in a room by yourself or with one or two more people, and you can see each other and you hear this voice, for one, you automatically know if it's a real AVP. You know it wasn't one of the people that you're with, because it does have a different sound to it.
Yes.
A person in front of you. But two, to see the people in front of you and know that they didn't say anything and hear it come from across the room, or sometimes it's hard to kind of tell where it came from because it's just in the air around you, then, that's where it's really like, holy cow, we all heard that. That was nuts.
And we know we're all accounted for. And there's nobody else in this house. And if you're in situations like we've been in, we know for a fact there's nobody outside, around the house, in the perimeter.
No, what's weird too about that location is that they would happen right in front of you.
Oh yeah.
When you get to it was directly in front of you. Like when the one said, hello to you from the scratcher room.
2.5 feet from me.
It was right in front of you, like it was standing right in the doorway.
I thought I heard you talking in the scratcher room just now. Or it may have been right now. Is that what you said?
It really was, and that's something else that's strange about it. When we've heard disembodied voices in that location, in particular, they don't. There'll be one that's like literally you'll hear it right within a foot and a half to 2 feet in front of you, almost as if it's standing right in front of you, but you can't see it. And then it'll move, and you'll hear it, 10 feet away on the other side of the room. And you can tell that it's 10 feet away because the sound is different and it's further away. It's mind blowing.
Yep. Yeah, it is amazing. Just like at the first film from Hill House, when it started in the scratcher room, and then it was behind us in the living room, and then come from the hallway going to the Shadow Man room. It was literally moving itself across the house and speaking as it went. So you could actually hear its movement.
You could track it.
Yeah, you could track it and you could trace its steps. Where it actually went.
What do you want to say? We can hear your voice. You're here.
So yeah, that stuff is just nuts to me, and
it just leaves us sitting here going, "What?" I mean, I'm still, Ryan, I'm still speechless about when it comes to talking about this, because even though we worked so hard to try to debunk everything in each one of these locations, when it came to hearing a disembodied voice, we still, me personally, I know, find myself in my bed late at night, drifting off to sleep, thinking, well, did I check this? Or could it have been maybe that? Or, and then every time I go through that scenario in my mind, I think back of what we did and how we did it, and I ending up with the same answer in the end, which is, no, it couldn't have been that either. No, it couldn't have been that either. No, it couldn't have been that.
Well, there's things that we experience on these investigations that you could always come up with an alternative reason of why it could have happened. Like if your REM pods are going off like crazy, yeah, I mean, this could definitely be paranormal activity, but it could also definitely be
walkie-talkie
off a crazy signal, or somebody next door using a walkie-talkie, or there's always something scientific that could make that happen. But to me, there's two things that will leave you kind of breathless like that, and that's either hearing a voice out loud right around you or seeing it with your own eyes. Those two things are completely rare, but those are two of the things that when it happens to you, man, you just can't wrap your head around it. There's no way to make our human brains make sense of what we just heard or saw. It doesn't calculate, and it's just nuts.
Being the group that we are, with our mission statement to bring real paranormal evidence to people, and being skeptical about each bit of evidence that we catch, we had to come up with some sort of theory. We had to think about it and try to find some logical explanation, because we were noticing, because we heard so many different disembodied voices within these last 3 investigations, that we've gotten to the point where we realize there's actually there's similarities between these disembodied voices, meaning that there are some disembodied voices, and I think we've talked briefly about this before on our first podcast, that have a whispery kind of tone to them, and other disembodied voices and sounds that have a digital or almost an electronic type of sound. And in our last film, we came up with a theory on that. We ended our film with that theory, which is a well-known belief that paranormal investigators have, that spirits or entities can communicate or hear us better through airwaves. That's the reason why a lot of people use the experiment like we use from time to time, which is have a walkie-talkie in the house and address the home beforehand using a walkie-talkie so maybe they can hear us better. Well, we then were thinking about that at the end of this film and go, you know what? What if, because these sounded electronic sometimes, maybe they're manipulating the airwaves and have found a way to mess with the radio waves that are natural in the air and create their own type of voice and vocal sound. Here's where it gets weird, though. When it comes to those whispery type disembodied voices, it doesn't make any sense. How are they pulling it off? Or have they just got so good that they've made it so that it doesn't sound electronic or digital in nature anymore? It just sounds more natural, human.
Well, I was watching something, and I don't remember what it was, but it did. I do remember in that conversation, it said that they don't have a voice of their own. There's no lungs, or they don't have a mouth and vocal cords.
Yeah, obviously.
So they need something in the atmosphere around them to create that voice. So if they are using, say, radio waves or something like that, and or some kind of signal going over those radio waves to create a voice out of it, then they can manipulate it to make it say what they want it to say, and it would get that digital sound to it because it's using a radio wave. Same thing with like necrophonic, which we use a lot. It's making a bunch of sounds, and they can take that sound and manipulate it to make a word, and that's them basically speaking.
And we've learned that is very easy for them to do if you're in a place that's haunted, using that device. And that's the reason why we've used it so often. Are you touching Ryan's hand?
Are you touching my middle finger?
Touch.
Make it to where we can see your hand in the fog touching my finger.
Look, Ryan, I'm not crazy.
All right, yeah. Never mind.
I'm so serious about trying to find natural explanations for these things when they happen. And not because I can sleep better at night, that's not it. I strive to find these answers because I want to know what the answer is.
I think you just end up with more questions. It's almost like the more answers you try to seek, the more questions that you have. And I think that is the game. I mean, that's kind of they obviously don't want you to find out anything. They don't want you to know anything because we're just not supposed to know. So what better way to, confuse us as to if we think we're onto something and then we get some totally different response or some, whatever. We kind of start back at square one, or it throws us off in a completely different direction. I think the best thing that we can do is try to capture the best evidence that can be captured, to analyze that as much as possible and try to go in some direction with it and at least narrow it down over time. But I think that's really the best that we can do, and it's probably as far as we'll ever get. But, it's also the excitement of doing it that keeps it going. Even if we don't ever find the answers, it's, people look at me when I tell them what I do or something. I mean, I have family members that look at me and they're like, do you really believe in that kind of stuff? And I'm like, you don't have to ask me if I believe in it, because that's like asking me if I, believe in sandwiches. I mean, yeah, I believe in them. I eat them all the time because they're there. They're real. I mean, my belly shows it. Like,
right?
I mean, yes, I believe in ghosts just as much as I do a damn sandwich. It's that real.
I believe in ghosts as much as I believe in tacos.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's a whole hell of a lot, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. It is real. The thing is, not wanting to convince other people, but to me, it's like when somebody doesn't believe, it's like, oh man, you just haven't experienced this yet.
Yeah. Well, I used to be the opposite. I was that guy you were talking to for the longest time saying that to yourself. And now I'm like you. I'm like, when people go, I really don't. Like, I have a friend of mine. I have a good friend. And he watches, he listens to our podcast. So I know he's going to know who it is. I won't say your name, man. But he goes, look, I really enjoyed the last film. He said, I'll be honest with you, Dave. I wish I could believe that everything you caught there and you showed was real, though. And my mind was, and I've known this guy for years, and I thought we were like tight, man. And he doesn't believe even me, even knowing me and knowing how serious I am about calling bullshit when I see it or hear it or experience it, or even if there's a possibility, that slight possibility that we got it wrong, calling bullshit or going, no, let's not use it. There's too much controversy behind that piece of evidence. Like, I have so many guys that I know of that are big on orbs. You notice that we don't talk about them much on our show because there's too many things that can be misinterpreted as an orb.
Yeah, and an orb is one of those things that there's too many other things that it could be. I mean, it would be like getting a disembodied whisper, but there's 8 fans in the room. Was it a whisper? It could have been, but it also could have been 8 fans, making all the noise. That's kind of how we feel about an orb.
Well, we're talking about our theory on disembodied voices, kind of going back to that. When you have so many of them doing this in a location and you've experienced it so many times that you're actually able to get to a point where you can come up with a theory like we have, that disturbs me too, that we've experienced that much. Which leads to so many other questions. This is where the rabbit hole starts widening, and you don't see any light at the end of that hole either, because we touched a little bit on it this last time. If they're able to be so intelligent as to learn how to manipulate those things, why can't they make themselves seen? Why can't they do physical things on command? And so on and so forth. And you mentioned just a second ago about the different beliefs of what these things are. Are we sure we're dealing with human spirits and demonic spirits, angelic spirits, or are we dealing with all of them, or just one? Many people have one core belief, whether that core belief be that anytime you experience anything paranormal, it is a fallen angel, it is a demon, an unclean spirit, which of course the Bible is not so clear on what an unclean spirit is. Many believe that the Bible just kind of basically says it's the same thing as a demon, because unclean spirits, like demons, can be cast out through the name of Jesus Christ. So it could very well be that, and that be true, and that everything that we've experienced is simply demonic spirits or unclean spirits that are either masquerading as human spirits at times, or trying to talk to us as if they are human spirits at times. Or it could be a combination of many. It could be human spirits that we're communicating with and no demons at all. And they're trying to, there's also this theory that human spirits, when they die with the same personality they had when they were living, and that personality goes on in death. So if they were an a-hole in life, then they're probably going to be an a-hole in death and go around screwing with people and being angry all the time, which kind of go along with the grunt guy. Once again, another disembodied voice that we ran across. I won't go too much into that because I think we may be doing a film at one point soon where you're going to be able to see all that evidence.
coffee? What?
I think it takes a lot of spirit communication to know what you are and aren't talking to. And we've had conversations even at Hill House that had nothing to do with evil and things like that, like normal conversations
Oh, we
about
did.
things about the location. Yeah, we did.
We had a 2-hour conversation about something that had absolutely nothing to do with the Hill House whatsoever, with an Estes method that we did that's not on the film. That there was no negative connotation to the conversation at all. It was all absolutely fascinating. It sounded like a bunch of old hands, country boys, talking to us and telling us what's up.
Yeah, just like you're just sitting there talking to just a couple of guys having a conversation.
Yeah, it's weird, bizarre.
Even had conversations there where we were talking to working girls.
Oh yeah, one
and
called me handsome.
Yeah, and this is the one that she even said, when I asked you, why are you still here? And it came out trapped. And I said, well, how are you trapped here? And it said, doors are locked. And, yeah, and those are things that when you're getting those kind of responses, you just start getting these visuals.
I'm a Christian, okay? And I do believe in the Word of God, okay? There's a lot of things that we've caught that coincide with the Bible, with what the Word of God says.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that we've caught that the Bible never talks about, okay? And that it doesn't go against the Bible, but the Bible just doesn't talk about it. And it makes you wonder, as a human, you want to fill in those blanks,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
well, then maybe it's this. And so one of the theories that we've thought about, you and I have talked about, is could it be that these places that are super haunted, these negative things have happened in, at one point or another, all these unclean spirits or demonic spirits that own the world now, since they fell from heaven, fell from grace. Is it possible that these certain places, they go, you know what? Let's make this a holding cell. Let's make this location a holding cell. I mean, it would make perfect sense. I mean, some of the places they choose are just absolutely perfect places to do that in. Prisons.
Right.
Prisons.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, they're not using it anymore.
Right.
Let's go ahead and take that place over. We know what the future holds for that place. We've still got another 100 years that we can mess with it. We can still inhabit and hold on to these spirits here for a long time. These souls. And then places like the Haunted Hill House, so much tragedy and rituals and undocumented deaths. Places like Yorktown Hospital, so many untimely deaths.
Right.
And then the place goes empty. Wouldn't it make sense if you died and your soul was just destined for hell, or that might be your holding place?
Not only does it make sense, but
wait, before you go any further, let me just make this clear. This is just a thought that went through my head. Is it biblically correct? Absolutely not. Okay, it's not.
It's not. But we've had too many conversations that have hinted or basically said outright that is the case. Think about the conversation we had during the Estes session at Hill House Manor.
Yes, but you got to be careful with that, because it could be a demonic spirit trying to trick you into thinking that.
That would mean that spirit was basically playing 3 roles to try to throw us off by saying, help us, help, please, help me, please. Are you trapped? Yes, trapped. Let me out, release, like all that stuff. And then also this other thing saying, that basically just threatening us. And, just being very combative and then showing its presence by coming into the room and freezing us out, basically.
Oh, okay. I know what yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was literally, a double conversation going on, which you would, common sense say this is obviously, two separate things that we're communicating with. We're literally talking with the spirits that are trapped in this area of this house and are not allowed to leave, is what they're telling us, until they're released. And then this other thing that is basically saying, no, I'm not going to release them. I mean, when we asked, you guys were under blindfolded and I was asking questions, and I said, what is your purpose here? And that's when Caleb heard and came out with, I run it.
Yeah, I remember that. We're by the way, we're talking about the Haunted Hill Manor. Once again, this may be a place we revisit in the future and do a full film on, because a lot of evidence happened there. Some things that were very interesting, which left us with a lot of questions. But back to what you were saying, it still could be a misleading experiment. It could be all big one show to lead you in that direction and start thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be sitting there just putting on a whole spill and going back and forth and playing a double role and everything else. I mean, yeah, it's true, it's possible.
And this is the point. I mean, we sit here and you and I have these conversations all the time. This is what our podcast is about. It's about talking through these things, trying to make sense of them best we can, even when there's no making sense of them. Even when it all comes down to it and it's all said and done, we end the conversation with, well, we talked about it. We expressed our thoughts and beliefs and theories on it. Are they sound? Are they true? Are they going to change the world as we know it? No. But what they do help with is getting closer to some sort of truth in our mind, some sort of way of being able to understand it best we can. It all comes back to we do this because we're passionate about it and because we want to find answers. Over the 17 years that we've been doing this, we've unfortunately learned that finding those answers may not ever happen in our lifetime, but going out and trying to find those answers could possibly one day lead to something scientific that may blow the doors off of the scientific community to take a closer look at what's going on that we cannot see or hear or touch.
Yeah,
all around us.
I think that's what needs to happen. I mean, it's one of those things where, we are coming up with new experiments, and we are coming up with, through doing different kinds of research, things that I'm digging up that we're going to be putting experiments together to try to use on our upcoming films.
Sweet.
And are, things that hopefully will get us to those answers, that we want to find. I mean, we're not going to get those answers until we get more direct answers from the spirits that we're trying to communicate with. And
that is our whole goal. Our whole goal is to continue doing these experiments, hopefully find one experiment that on a regular basis, no matter where you go, as long as it's paranormally active, this experiment works. And that way it'll gain the attention of maybe the scientific community to come in and at least watch and observe and see what's going on, so that they can fact check us, that they can sit there and see for themselves exactly what's going on, that we're not manipulating anything.
Yep.
I
want one just to be, I want the evidence just to be good enough to where they're like, okay, I've seen it on video, but I can't, definitively say, I'm going to have to be there.
Is that how scientists talk?
Oh yeah. And that's when we say, well,
come on.
We don't do all that graphics crap. We don't know how to do any of that. We record it, we edit it, and we put it out there. So
yeah, and I'm not that great at editing, and I do my best.
Yeah, if you see something you don't understand, that means you don't understand it. And if we can just get one of them to come to a location with us and experience the things that we experience when we go to these places, then I know for sure we can get somebody on board. So yeah,
Okay, hold on. All right, so
get that evidence.
here's the opportunity. If you're a scientist and you're listening to this and laughing at us, at our belief system here, congratulations. We're inviting you to become part of our next investigation. We want you to go with us. I mean, just email us at hauntednationtv@gmail.com. If you're legitimately a scientist, we might start a conversation with you, and if you fit the bill, we might throw you in the back of the bus for a while and take you where we're going. And just know this: if you are going to go with us, and you do go with us, you better bring some depends if you're not able to handle certain things, because where we go, we don't go to these little nice mom and pop places where you get Grandma Emma talking to us in the background, whispering slightly on an EVP. We usually find ourselves in situations where we're having to pull out the holy water and the crosses and take a walk outside for a little while.
Oh yeah, we've had to take many a break and go outside and let the house cool down because it's gotten crazy. And I don't necessarily think that's all because of the location. I think it still has to do something with the dynamic of our group. For some reason, they want to talk to us.
And what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean, though, that we draw out negative spirits as a team? None of us are bad people.
I don't know what that means.
Hopefully, pretty soon on our podcast, we can bring in someone to join the conversation. And if you have some sort of paranormal background, there's maybe a certain gift that you have, we would like to invite you to touch base with us. Get a hold of us and let us know what your gift is. We might want to reach out to you and have you on the show sometime and talk to you a little bit about that gift. Now, what exactly is that email again for the Paranuts Paranormal Podcast?
It's paranutspodcast@gmail.
Okay, just paranutspodcast@gmail.com.
Paranutspodcast@gmail.
Email us on that, and maybe we can get back with you. Before we leave today, I want to tell you about something really cool that Ryan and I have begun to do. It's really exciting. You know, Ryan and I, if you know us personally, you know that it's been kind of a lifelong dream of ours to go to Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. And if you are into the paranormal, you know why that it's been a dream of ours, and that's because just about anything you can imagine paranormally happens at Waverly Hills Sanatorium and has been caught evidence-wise at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. So, since we can't afford it, we've decided to do a Kickstarter because we want to do a film to bring to you on Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky.
Crazy experiments we're taking to that place.
That's right. We're going to go full bore, man. We're going to bring out the experiments.
Watching Rim go off and kicking cat balls down the hallway. We're setting up full-blown experiments, and we're going there with the aim to catch some crazy-ass evidence.
That's right. So before we leave today, I want to play you the Kickstarter video that we have up on Kickstarter right now. We need help getting to Waverly Hills Sanatorium because we're just a couple of working stiffs, and we're going to need a little help getting there and back. We'll take care of the rest, but we're just looking to get our some of our travel expenses and stuff like that taken care of for this trip. But yeah, we're hoping to bring you an awesome film out at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Whew, can you imagine? It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Hopefully it'll all work out.
Nuts if we could do that.
Anyway, here's the Kickstarter video. Hey, I'm Big Dave.
I'm Ryan Brogdon.
And we are the lead investigators and founders of Answers Paranormal Investigations. We've been doing this over 17 years now. We've got over 100 investigations under our belt, and we are not ghost hunters. We are paranormal researchers. It's all about gaining real evidence. We started this project because I am a hardcore skeptic, or should I say was a hardcore skeptic. And Ryan well, he's experienced paranormal activity most of his life. So about a year and a half or so ago, we started a new show called Haunted Nation. This is just our beginning. At this point, we've put out 3 films, 2 of which are on Paraflix.com. One called Haunted Nation, The Haunted Hill House. The other, Haunted Nation, The Stone Lion Inn. And recently, we began our new YouTube channel, and we created a 3rd film, a sequel to our first, called Haunted Nation, The Haunted Hill House, New Evidence. Here's a small clip from it.
In our first film, which is on Paraflix, there were so many things that happened in that film that were just absolutely crazy.
Unbeknownst to us, when reviewing evidence, we realized we captured thermal footage of what looked to be a head and top of a torso coming out of the floor, and then it just seems to melt back into it. But nothing could prepare us for hearing loud and clear, disembodied voices seemingly coming out of thin air.
What do you want to say? We can hear your voice. You're here.
So our goal right now is to get to Waverly Hills Sanatorium. And here is why. Number one, it's a lifelong dream of mine and Dave's to get to this place. This is one of the most haunted places in the world, and that's where we like to do our experiments. We have thought up these experiments to try to capture actual evidence of the paranormal. I sit here in front of my computer literally all the time researching new experiments and things that could possibly create more paranormal activity. We want to capture evidence that will be acknowledged and, could possibly bring us to the point where we can come together and, do some testing and find some real answers. We can take that possibly to, the scientific community and say, hey, we need some help with this.
Like Ryan said, it's been our dream to go to Waverly Hills Sanatorium. And now that we have a show, we want to create a film that can bring the masses real paranormal evidence. The only problem is we can't afford it. Bottom line.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, I live in Arkansas. Ryan lives in Texas, and it's a good long drive for both of us. Then, of course, there's the cost of the venue itself. So I do most of the editing on the films, and all of the other stuff we kind of do in-house. So all we really need is our expenses. We're not trying to get rich. We're just trying to get our expenses covered so that we can get there and back safely and have a place to put our head down whenever we do sleep and we're not doing experiments of the paranormal in Waverly. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you get to see us in our next film at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Well, there you go. There's a Kickstarter video. Hopefully you feel like you want to be a part of what we're doing here. Yeah, I know, right? Looking forward to being back here with you again next week here on the Paranuts Paranormal Podcast. We'll never find 2 guys more crazy about the paranormal than these nuts. Welcome to the Haunted Nation. Ah, son of a bitch, right off the fart. Whatever, man.
And then tell me that I've dropped my marbles, that I'm hallucinating.
You said drop my marbles. That's funny. Hold on a second. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I am in my office where my dog has to go poo every once in a while. She's going to poop right next to me right now. Hold on, I'm going to watch. Do you want me to turn the camera so you can see her poop?